My name's Krishna, and yeah, I did a research on the economic assimilation of Asian immigrants, titled "The American Dream for Asian Immigrants." And in this paper, I analyzed the economic assimilation of this immigrant group. And this group is the Asian immigrant group is actually the second largest immigrant group in the U.S. How it's not studied enough. It's kind of understudied as compared to other groups such as Hispanic immigrants, which is the largest group. And it is a major fact is that since 2009 there's actually been more Asian immigrants entering the US as compared to Hispanic immigrants. Furthermore, this the group of Asian immigrants is a highly heterogeneous group, and it's far from monolithic due to it Asia consists of a great amount of countries with a great amount of people from of various ethnicities, and different regions with different levels of development. This leads to while some this leads to certain Asian immigrant groups actually facing more success as compared to others. Yep. Um, so understanding that there's a bunch of key factors when you analyze Asian immigrants, as mentioned before. The group is not really monolithic. It's actually it's a really large group where the and my aim of the aim of this research is to better understand this demographic and its role in the US economy and the US labor market, to say, and how each variable such as English proficiency, marriage, geography actually affects the wages of these immigrant groups. Uh, yeah, and this research would help form more clearer policies which could have whose impact could actually be what to say which could have the desired impact, to say, like it will help form better policies as a whole. Yeah. So there are multiple papers, but which I've referenced, but two major papers are uh, Chiswick's 1978 paper, and uh, George W. Bohas is 1985 and 1987 papers, i- which all of them, which for example, Chiswick's work, it talks about the Americanization effect, which I'm going to explore for this Asian demographic group, and it defined the dependent variable as wages, which was an important benchmark which could be used to compare the success in the labor market of each immigrant group compared to the natives. Furthermore, Borjas introduced the impact of cohorts, where um, it's important to consider which immigrant cohort each individual was from, due to varying assimilation rates in the labor market, due to different labor market dynamics at different times. Yeah. And the variables I used here was the logarithm of percentile adjusted weekly wages. Here, the usage of percentile adjusted weekly wages eliminates any additional factors such as inflation, which could impact the wages and impact the study as a whole. And then we use variables such as age, years since migration, education level, the ability to speak English well, marriage, and living in the South, and mean regional education, in order to gauge how these traits inherently um affect the wages and labor market wages of the immigrants and the natives. Yeah, so this is a model which I've used here. There's a cubic polynomial in terms of for age and years since migration. Mainly because other studies by Borjas actually mentions that the age and years since migration are significant up till the third degree. Um, Furthermore, we have an interaction term for being married and speaking English well, which which would help analyze the effect of two variables combined, as mentioned before. Yeah, and then we have the cohort variables, which all help um which all help differentiate each cohort and see how the wages of each cohort were compared to each other. And for the variable of education level, there's possible endogeneity here due to due to higher wages, possibly leading to better education, um, due to as it provides a greater incentive for each each participant in the labor market to improve their skills. And on the other hand, higher education would lead to higher wages. So to test this endogeneity, we did two tests, such as the Durbin Chi 2 test and the Wu-Hausman F test, which essentially had significant values, suggesting that there's great endogeneity in this variable. And in order to mitigate this endogeneity, we have used the mean regional education variable, as mentioned before, which 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 is an instrumental variable which will help in at the end of the day solve this endogeneity of education levels. Yeah. So in the first thing which I did was a cross-sectional regression for each year to see how over time each variable coefficient and how each variable uh the coefficient of each variable changed over time, and how each variable impacted the immigrant groups and the natives as wages. So we can see here for education as expected, there's a positive and increasing coefficient for both natives and immigrants. For living in the South, actually, it's a the negative the coefficient was negative and significant, suggesting that living in the South can provide a earnings disadvantage. Furthermore, the variable for marital status were positive and significant for natives, which whose impact actually increased over time. However, there's an unexpected negative and non-causal relationship for Asian immigrants due to high p-values, um, as depicted by the lack of stars. Furthermore, in terms of for English proficiency, there is a negative and non-causal relationship for Asian immigrants. This variable actually is only um, taken for the immigrant groups due to, as it is assumed in the study, that all Native Americans can speak English well. Um, and this English proficiency is actually very surprising. Um, is a surprising discovery, as it's contradictory to our logical beliefs. How it aligns with the studies of Zheng and Xi, uh, previous studies. Furthermore, the interaction term, however, on the other hand, is positive and significant, and whose value actually increases over time. And this suggests a effect where these two variables essentially work together in order to provide impact the wages, as compared where rather than speaking English well, it's important to be married and speak English well. This is a very surprising discovery. Furthermore, the age polynomial is a cubic polynomial. The age polynomial, which is a cubic polynomial for all ages, shows that over time age matters lesser and lesser, because as you could see the coefficients falling over time. While it's still significant and impacts wages, it's not a major variable in which could impact a person's wage. Yeah, so we did an overall regression then. I did an overall regression then with and without the instrumental variable. So these are the results. Yep, and we could see here that education level with the instrumental variable shows that the coefficient is actually greater for natives, suggesting that education is a major factor for native US citizens as compared to Asian immigrants, suggesting it contributes more to their wages again than Asian immigrant groups, although both show a positive and strong correlation. Furthermore, the living in the South still remains negative for both with and without an instrumental variable, as seen before. For the variable of marital status, with an instrumental variable, marriage is now significant and positive for immigrants as well, and it shows a causal role, showing that being married could possibly help increase wages to to better networks, leading to better job opportunities, which contrasts the previous finding without the instrumental variable. Furthermore, the interaction term remains positive and significant with and without the instrumental variable, reinforcing that the ability to speak English well um actually works actually work the ability to speak English well and being married at the same time work together, as mentioned before, in order to im improve the wages of of immigrants. Furthermore, the English proficiency variable was still insignificant in this case, suggesting that English proficiency actually has no impact on the wages at all, uh, unless paired with the variable of being married. For the cubic polynomials of age and years since migration, they both show small, insignificant coefficients. And as mentioned before, this suggests that these are not these are not major factors which determine the wages of natives and the natives and immigrants. And for cohort effects, you could see that all cohort coefficients are negative, suggesting that there's actually a earning disadvantage faced by each immigrant, leading to leading which aligns with actually Chiswick's work, suggesting that each immigrant faces an early earnings disadvantage at entry. Furthermore, we also I also um I also asked the question if the variable of mean regional education is essentially a good instrumental variable for education levels. And to answer this question, I performed two tests. uh, One was a Kleinberg Pup RK LM, to finding the RK LM statistics, and the other one was the Kleinberg Pup RK Wald F statistic. Finding these two statistics helped me determine if the instrumental variable is correct, and as well you could see the values are actually are significant and large, suggesting that essentially it's a strong instrumental variable for education level, mean regional education. Find For the economic assimilation, to measure it, we used the variable we calculated the relative percentile adjusted wage growth in the first decade, um compared for immigrants compared to the natives, and you can see that all values are positive and significant, suggesting that there's an Americanization effect that Chiswick suggested. However, over time, there are the value diminishes, the percentile adjusted wage growth diminishes, and the over time the percentile adjusted wage growth values diminish unless and despite the two spikes caused by major immigration policy changes, which was which could be seen especially in 1985 and to 1994 cohort and 2000 to 2009 cohort, where one was due to the 1990 Immigration Act and the other was due to the 2000 abolition of the quota system. Yeah. And post 2009, there's a subsequent decrease in wage growth after each spike. So, yep. Uh, this study essentially highlights the complexities of wage growth and assimilation for Asian immigrants, and there are multiple unexpected findings and multiple ways we could take this study further and delve deeper into the Asian immigrant population and in the US. Um, One of the major unexpected findings was English proficiency, that it had a non-causal relationship with wages. Another was the variable of marriage, which was actually insignificant for immigrants without the instrumental variable. However, after implementing the instrumental variable, it had a significant and positive correlation with the instrumental variable, aligning with the expectation of improved networks, leading to improved job opportunities, leading to higher wages. The the interaction term, as mentioned before, the significance of the interaction term was was a surprising and unexpected finding, as um English proficient immigrants who are married at the same time show up, have have earn greater wages due to this fact, as and it could again come down to explained by networking, where being married could help you improve your networks, but if you speak English well at the same time, you could utilize these networks well and get greater job opportunities, leading to greater wages. The cubic polynomial, the variables of age and year since migration were seen to be insignificant due to the small coefficients, which suggested that they are not primary factors for employers, which again is a shocking discovery, as um, there's a no, multiple notions that age matters um, when you apply for jobs. Furthermore, the main finding of the paper was the assimilation rate, which suggested that the assimilation rate actually fell for Asian immigrants fell over time. However, there were major increases in the assimilation rate due to policy changes, which again then continued to fall. Uh, this implies that uh, um, greater policy interventions and continuously changing doing immigrant friendly policy changes would lead to it would encourage higher skill migrations, leading to higher assimilation rates at the end of the day. One limitation of this research was that we took the Asian immigrant population as a whole and we treated them as a single group, uh, and that future research should actually delve deeper into each group rather than take the continent of Asia. Furthermore, the additional variables of we the additional variables such as technology, skill recognition, and industrial selection, which have not been considered, um, which again could have a major impact on the wages of immigrants, which need to be considered. And one more limitation is that we didn't take take another dependent variable called return on skills, which would explore the variable of how each factor affects the return on skills of an immigrant, considering the skill level of the immigrant as well, and not only the immigrant's factors such as age and years since migration. So, thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much for presenting, Krishna. And I would like to open the floor for question and answers. But before that, I have a question for you. This is an amazing presentation, right? But I was wondering what led you to research on this topic. What was your reason? I was looking at the chart and where you're from. I think you're from India. And it was great to see you present so enthusiastically about the experience of Asian immigrants. So, what was the reason that you chose this topic, especially given that you are living in another region? Are you looking forward to study in the US? Do you have someone whose experience you relate to, or just is it just
Yes.
out of interest?
Essentially, yes. So I'm looking forward to study in the US, and my plan is to study there. And because of my interest in studying in the US, I learned a lot about how people of India and Asia as a whole could migrate to the US, study there, and possibly sometimes even settle there and become immigrants. Um, get a green card, get a residency at the end of the day. And this connection, actually almost personal connection, ki kind
Okay.
of got me interested into this group as a whole. So yeah. S- it-
Amazing. Thanks for sharing that. It was a very thorough presentation. We'll see if there are any questions. But otherwise, lovely presentation, and thank you for having the courage and coming up to these presentations. I understand as a student, it sometimes get a bit stressful, or sometimes you're very nervous, but you presented very well. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.